What's up? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Bending Ballistics Show, and we are joined by a very special guest, one of the nicest people I have ever met in the competitive market world when it comes to firearms, Mr. Robert Brantley himself, the Mr. King of 2 Mile class of 2018. Go ahead, Robert.
Nice to be here. I appreciate the invite to come join y'all.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad that we finally got this worked out where we could get everybody in here and I'm making my reigns through everybody that I know, and I'm just having fun with it, and that's what it's all about. It's just having fun.
That's it.
So
If you're not having fun in this, you're in the wrong game.
yeah, I mean exactly. Um, so when you first got into firearms, were you really young, or did it progress as you got older into the competitive market, or how did you get into it and things of that nature?
So no one in my family had anything to do with any kind of uh, competition, any kind of really marksmanship. Let's say nothing like that. It was mostly shotgun hunting, rabbit hunting, coon, squirrel, stuff like that. Anyone, some duck, anyone in my family that had anything to do with firearms, it was mostly down that path. For some reason, I was at a very young age infatuated with precision or long range rifle. Uh, and my dad, from when he was in either in school, I think when he was in high school, he had a carbine 6.5 55 Swedish Mauser, open sights, the little carbine with the rear sight that you could pick up and down. And he had a case of Norma uh, lead nosed, blunt tipped ammo. And that was the only rifle in our entire family, other than some 22s. And it was looked at, rifle hunting where I'm from, looked at as sport because it's really thick country. There is hardly any long range shots, anything like that. So it just really wasn't looked upon. And I don't know if it was because I was wanting to rebel against what was normal and I wanted rifles, but from a young age, I just knew I wanted to do that, but there was no avenue to it until I got of working age and could buy my first rifle and stuff like that. So I had one uncle, my uncle Scott, that kind of, he was in my eyes a great shot, but nothing along the lines of what we're doing. Not saying he couldn't do it, but he just didn't. He didn't go after that. So I just
Yeah.
I just went after this when I got a decent job that I could afford my own rifle, and just kind of just struggled down that path on my own. So uh, it was from an early age I was involved in guns and knew I wanted to do it, but it was older in life whenever I actually got to do it, if that makes any sense. So a little bit of both. The interest was there, and luckily there was books, and I read a lot about like snipers and things like that, like Carlos Hathcock. I had all the books about any of those guys, and that really sparked the interest and kept things going, and kept my passion going. But I never got to do any of it till it was older. My first rifle that I bought it from a pawn shop down the road. It was a Winchester Model 70 long range hunter with a Pentax Light Seeker 8 to 32, and I thought that was, since it was it said long range on it, I thought that's the rifle. Since it was a 300 Win Mag, I was like, that's you can shoot far. And since it was a Pentax with a mil dot reticle, I thought that was it. And I still have it, and I'll never change it because I remember that's how I started, and I intend to pass that on to my kids as nothing really to be used, but just something that kind of shows where it all started. But it's been all fun and games since then, and still love it. If that
Well,
answers your question.
I mean, it does, and that was going to be the one thing that I was going to say in here. Like meeting you in person and shooting matches with you, you're the exact same person here as you are there. Like, I remember my first match when I was struggling, and you were like, just have fun. He's like, quit worrying about struggling and go have fun.
Yeah.
And literally, I don't know what clicked, but I just started having a lot more fun. And like, and right there, like, I knew like, hey, I'm hooked.
Me
And
and a buddy were talking about this today, and he was telling me about his first matches, how he used to how he just wants to keep the fun in it. I said that was a pivotal part for me in competition because uh, I used to take it too serious, and if something bad happened that I didn't plan on, and it would take the fun away, well, I would take that to the next stage and the next stage. Well, letting everybody know that you're mad at your performance isn't going to help your score on the next stage. So if I can always have fun, then that's the focus, and and then everything's kind of a reset. Every stage is a new stage. I don't take the good or the bad. It's because it's always good. A bad day on the range, my worst score ever, is still more fun than sitting at home knowing everyone else is doing it. So to me, it's a performance enhancer too. Just if I have fun, because my worst enemy in a match is all up here. So if I can detach from that and just focus on having fun and the next stage and things like that, I'm probably going to do better. So I
yeah,
tell guys, if you're not having fun, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Find out how to have fun and move on.
exactly. Boom Country says his first long range was a 6 millimeter Remington Ruger with iron sight or iron Citron scope. Sorry,
Man, that's
apparently can't
light
read
years
today.
ahead of what I started with.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Like, so you and I have both been shooting for a long time, and we've watched how it's gone from these super magnum calibers down to these 6 millimeter calibers. And I love that you're still running 6.5 this year, aren't you? Or are you running
I'm running
308 again?
308.
Oh yeah,
308.
you're running tactical. That's right.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
I've had a
Um,
lot of fun with TAC class. That was my second rifle, or kind of my third. Whenever I figured out, whoa, I can't afford to feed this 300 Win Mag. It's overkill. At first I didn't think it was big enough. I was looking at 338 Lapua and stuff like that. When you first get into it, you get Magnum fever. You're like, oh, I got to shoot
yeah,
far. I need all this stuff. And then you get your butt kicked by some guy. This is way before like PRS even existed and stuff like that. When I got this, I was like, wow, this is – I can shoot cheaper, shoot more often, and shoot more pleasurably by something else. And then you start finding 6 and 6.5s, the light bulbs go off, and
yeah,
you can have more fun. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, if you don't have a mentor, you start down that path. Like, do I get a 338 Lapua, 50 BMG? Like, what do I get? Like, you think you
yeah,
need that, but you really don't.
exactly. And that's the thing about it. And I'm glad like you brought that up. Because like I see DK says long range equals 338 Lapua,
Yeah.
and and like these 6 millimeter cartridges and these 6.5 millimeter cartridges, and I'm excited to see the 7 millimeter PRC round come out. I'm super excited for that. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
these guys are doing these with 100 grain projectiles, 140 grain projectiles versus 340 grain projectiles or 285s. And it's so cool watching this progress and this innovation happen.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And you learn a little bit from all these. Like I've learned stuff from small cartridges that I take to my ELR games, and then I've learned stuff from ELR that I take to the other games. So precision rifle is precision rifle, whichever case you decide to put it in. So, uh, you know, it, it's there's a lot of consistency that overlaps between all of them, and so I'm glad I dabble in all of them. But most people have the wrong mindset that you need a lot more than you do. And you always hear the term less is more. And I think that really holds true in precision rifle, or can, why you see a lot of BR cases and the 6 GT and the 6 Creed. I mean, more people run that than they do 7 rim mags for PRS. I mean, you need just enough to get the job done, but not too much that it knocks you out of seeing and being able to practice seeing what's going on downrange. But, even if I could see, a 284 Winchester, all that, I probably couldn't shoot the same because brass is more expensive. Powder is more, it's just, you can lower your costs, therefore lowering the amount you get to shoot, and then increase the fun factor, and it makes you want to go shoot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to it.
Oh, I'm in 100% agreement with you. And so let's say let's just use for an example. I'm going to pick on Ron Wayne since he's here. Well, Mark's got a really great question here. Opinions on Wildcat cartridges, because we're both kind of Wildcatters in some regards. So what's your opinion on it? Like the 6GTs, the Dashers, the BRXs.
There's
I mean, the
definitely
list
a
goes
place
on.
for it. And if guys didn't do that, we'd still all be shooting a 308 and something like that. So I don't, I do not hate on it at all. I think that you can get wrapped up around the axle too much. I mean, you know, it's all how deep you want to go into it. And like when George come out with the GT, like for a while, it was a straight up Wildcat and it took a lot of work. If I had to do all that work to make that brass to go compete, I probably wouldn't be shooting a 6GT. But if he wouldn't have done the work and proven it, you know, and then it become a standardized cartridge, then we wouldn't get the benefits from that. And also, like, I try to be very hesitant to hate on anything because it takes experimentation for other people to reap the benefits of it. But at the same time, certain things I don't have the time to invest in it that I want to go down that route. So I think there's a time and place for it, but you know, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you're new, stay away from it.
Yeah. Especially if you're new to the reloading and all that. Like
it can do more harm than good if you don't have a basic understanding of stuff. You know, don't feel like you're going to win or lose because one cartridge may give you a little advantage over something like that. Most people getting into the competitive game need to work on the basics and things like that. That's going to take them so much further. And once you get to where you're fighting for them single points, now you can look into the benefits this cartridge may or may not have.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I'm in complete agreement. So we're going to pick on Ron Wayne a little bit since he's down here making fun of me over the Wilson comment. So Man Against the Masses last night made a meme of me with the guy that had Wilson volleyball. I forget the movie. Castaway. He had the Castaway guy and Wilson, and he photoshopped my face on Wilson. So so we're gonna pick on Ron Wayne a little bit. So if Ron Wayne wanted to go run a match and like he's got people like myself, yourself, Boom Country, John H, all of us, we run some sort of discipline at a match. What's one piece of advice that you would give Ron if he wanted to go do this? Whatever type of match it would be.
Focus on the basics and try to get the most basic kit and mindset and process that you can that'll perform the task. You know, start low and work yourself up because, you know, I started low, worked myself up thinking I had to have all these things, and then I've progressed back down to a very simple thing. So I try to tell people, man, keep it simple. Get your cartridge and gun. Just get something that's good enough. You know, later on you can really chase all those other things. But I see so many new shooters that chase all these things. They don't know what they're chasing, that they're really hindering themselves more than they're helping themselves. Where, you know, if you say, okay, I got a gun that's good enough, you know, I'm going to got a bag that's good enough and I'm just going to work on it. Put yourself out there like that. And very quickly you'll start seeing what you need to work on. But if you throw so many things at yourself right off the bat, you're going to be overwhelmed with things to work on. So keep it simple. The brick walls that you're going to hit will expose themselves quick, and you tackle them one by one. But start simple and work up. That's hard to do, but I think it's beneficial.
Well, it's like I tell everybody, go have fun, because there's enough people like yourself or Jason or even myself or John that, like, I keep extra firearms with me at 3-gun matches in case somebody's firearm goes down. Yeah. Or I keep extra pistols at IDPA matches and IPSC matches. And like, even no matter what type of match, whether it's clay pigeon or IDPA, IPSC, I keep extra firearms in case somebody's firearm goes down. And there's more people that are like yourself and myself that do that for people just for them to go, just keep shooting, like keep going.
Almost
Don't
always carry
stop.
a backup gun, and
Yeah.
I can't think of one time ever that I've needed my backup rifle, but I can't tell you how many times someone else did.
Yeah.
And this brings up another point. I've shot over 100 PRS matches. I don't know how many other kind of matches I've shot, but you see people that continuously have problems, and knock on wood, for me to shoot those many matches and have never had a problem with my gear ever, uh, I think says a lot, because not about myself, but about my gear, and because I try to keep it basic. I do not chase speed. When you chase speed, you're going to have problems when the rain comes or when it gets hot or stuff like that. I don't try to chase the little bit of accuracy where I have to think I got to be 10 thousandths off the lands, because one day when you're shooting dirt and dusty climates, something's going to happen. Like when you chase every little bit of aspect, you're opening yourself up for problems, where if you can keep it basic, I mean, things will crazy light triggers, things like that. Like, just back off a little bit, know that it's good enough, and you'll probably be fine. But yeah, I'm the same way. I carry that backup gun in case somebody needs it. And, maybe there's somebody there that hasn't shot a match and they're looking at doing it now. I can kind of hand them what I got, and or my backup gun, and let them have fun with it. So I think there's
Yeah.
a lot to be said for guys that want to carry stuff for other people's sake.
Well, because you never know, like and one thing that I really like say on my channel is what's relative and cost effective for me might not be cost effective for somebody else.
Yes.
And maybe they don't know that, okay, well, they could buy this firearm at, let's just throw out a flagrant price tag of $300, but if they spend another 100, so now at 400, now you can have this. And letting people try other things. Like, I mean, literally yesterday, I was at the range with a girl. She's trying to get into IDPA. She doesn't know what kind of pistol she wants. She doesn't know if she wants to go full size, if she wants to shoot 9 minor, 9 major, 9 standard. She doesn't know any of this. So I literally brought 3 different pistols that one shoots 9 minor, one shoots 9 major, and one shoots just 9mm standard. And then I have from the full size down to the subcompact. And she's decided that she wants to shoot 9 standard and subcompact. And for her, like, that's great. Like,
Yeah, not everyone can afford to experiment. I know I sure can't. So sometimes you got to find a mentor, someone that you trust that can lead you down the right path. But we all want to do a lot of things on our own, and make your own choices and things like that. So if it wasn't for you having that to give them, then she might be forced to experiment on her own dime, and that would be a barrier to entry that would maybe keep her from going down it. So
yeah.
you might have jump started it to a bit by letting her know, like, this is the path I want to go down. I've already played with the other ones. I know this is where I want to go. Now I can feel confident investing in this pathway, if that makes sense. And
it does. And that was the other thing that I asked her, like, before she ever decided if she wanted to shoot just like standard 9mm, 9 major, or 9 minor. I asked her, do you have the ambition to want to learn how to reload? Because if not, going into these 9 minors and these 9 majors, it might not be beneficial for you cost effective wise
yeah,
versus just running factory ammunition. And so that,
absolutely.
I mean, that really helped too. Like, that was the thing. Like, I'm all for keep it simple, stupid. Kind of like how you said, simple is always better.
Yeah. And that's another, you brought up a good point. Like I tell people all the time, maybe don't get into your first round that you're getting, say, I don't know much about pistol. I'm as green as it comes. I carry a pistol, and that's about it. I shoot 10 rounds a year, maybe. pistol. So I'm a very novice, especially when it comes to talking competitive pistol. But for precision rifle, if you're looking at jumping in and you're wanting to get this 6 dasher because you hear that's what guys are winning with, well, now you're learning how to shoot and how to reload right off the bat. And you may open yourself up to some problems and you don't know which to chase, because you're having issues on the range that may be related to your reloads. So maybe you need to focus on one thing at a time. Once you get your scores or your process to where you know what you're doing, then jump into the reloading. Because reloading isn't cheap for people when you first start out, because you got to buy all the stuff. And if you're chasing everything, you're thinking you need these crazy powder dispensers and stuff like that. So jump in one at a time. I try to preach to everybody, if you're new and starting, 6.5 Creed. And people love to hate that round because it's such a fanboy rounder. But I mean, it's not a barrel burner, so you can go buy factory ammo to get you going. It's competitive enough. You can do what you want to do with it, but you're not learning two things at once. And once you get the process down, maybe it's time to reload or something like that, and you can buy a bushing die and now go to a 6 Creed, or you might stick with 6.5. Or I see someone chimed in with the 308. That's what I'm shooting. I love a 308. But I think if you don't know a lot about it, it may be, you may have more recoil. It may take out some of the fun for it. Thinking, because a lot of people, you go to matches and they say, "Oh, you cannot be competitive with a 308. Like, you're not going to see your stuff." That's one of the reasons I like shooting a 308 is they say it can't be done, and it's the country boy mindset that, like, I'm going to prove them wrong. But
exactly.
But you start off with something competitive that'll get it done. Just like I said earlier, like, it's good enough. Most matches are 1,000 and in. It'll definitely beat a 6BR or something at those ranges. A 6BR is winning, so it's obviously good enough. Just take it and learn it, and then I tell them, like, I'd rather not start off with a 6 Creed, because by the time, when you're brand new, by the time you get it just figured out, your barrel is burnt out, and now you got to rinse and repeat. So with the 6.5 Creed, it gives you enough time to learn that cartridge that when you get a grasp on it, you still got some barrel life left, and it's teaching you to manage recoil a little bit, because it's a little bit more than what you'll probably end up shooting. So you've learned some recoil management techniques that will help you, as you progress. And then it's kind of like when you go to from a 6.5 Creed to, say, a 6 Dasher or 6 GT or whatever you may choose, it's like putting training wheels on it. You instantly get it, like, this is easier now, instead of going the other way. If that makes sense.
And that, like, comes down to the price point too. Because even Nate says down here, the guy he bought it from was selling it with 200 rounds to move to a 6.5 Creed. So he got it at a good price. But so the one thing that I really love about this channel is I have guys that are on all spectrums of the firearm world, whether it's they're super experienced, like Boom Country and John and Ron Wayne and yourself and myself, and that reload and things like this. But so David's asking, is it dangerous to mix powders? And I'm 100% against it, as I feel every reloader should be, because you never know burn rates, you never know anything like that. But I'm 100% against it. Say don't do it. Like, don't ever do it.
That's the safest answer you can give anybody. People that, say I'm mixing two kinds of powders, probably stay away. That's bad. Yeah. I know other people that say, I got 2 pounds of Varget. They're different lot numbers. I need them. I'm going to mix them so I have one lot number. Like, that's a different, I'm not saying do that, but that's a completely different style of mixing powders, right?
Yeah.
And I'll go ahead and tell y'all right now, and I do not advise this. For King of 2 Mile in 2018, we mixed 2 completely different kind of powders. One of them, we don't know what it is. You can't get it anymore. It was World War I or World War II cannon powders. The sticks were like this long in it, and we were shooting around where, and I'm not advising this, I'm just giving some information. We were shooting a case to where if you use the slowest powders available, you would get a very low case feel, and it gave us some problems. So we found this crazy old powder that was way too slow. But if we ran a charge master of one and a charge master of another, and we're throwing 200 plus grains of powder total. So when it would come out, we would mix it in a little medicine jar and dump it in the thing and go. And looking back, like, you can't do that anymore because you can't even get this powder. I don't even know how. I'm not even going to say how we got it. But yeah, the general answer is no, don't do it. It's not worth it. Man, you only got two eyes and, one life to live. And guns can, for especially long-range precision rifles, you got a lot of power in a small area that is right here in front of your face. If something blows up, I don't have the prettiest face in the world, but I dang sure don't want to lose what I got. So just stay away from it and get more powder, back out of the match if you need to. The same thing with hot loads. Like, even if you don't mix powder, if you mix the load data from one powder to what you got, it might be a recipe for disaster. So always start low, keep it simple. In my reloading room, I got a room where I reload and a room where I store powder. Whenever I get ready to load, I go in the room where I store powder. I get the jug. I go take it where my charge master is. I dump it, and that jug stays right there. So when I'm done loading, all the powder gets emptied back in that, and I take it back in the room. And every night, no matter what, I empty my powder measure, so powder dispenser. So I cannot do that because I don't load pistol. The worst I could probably do is I might could blow up a gun. I probably not, but because my stuff is real similar to each other. But if you shoot precision rifle and pistol, and you have the chance to where you could mix up a pistol powder, dude, you're flirting with disaster. And it's the little things you don't catch. Like, say you think you emptied all your powder out of your hopper, but you left some pistol powder in your tube, and your first round's going to get that pistol powder. So like, I'm very try to be very aware that I clean out everything. You have a sterile environment, and I'm not mixing powder at all. So yeah, I would tell that guy, just stay away from it.
Oh, I'm right there with you. And so it's funny that you mentioned that, because I have one powder thrower strictly for rifle powders, and I have one powder thrower strictly for pistol powders.
That's probably a smart move. Yeah.
And the only rifle powder that I load on my pistol powder thrower is 300 Blackout, because it uses a pistol powder. CFE Black is a pistol powder. That's the only one that rifle and pistol ever mix for in that one is because it's a pistol powder in a rifle cartridge, if that makes sense.
The way I look at it is like, I got buddies that tune their trucks and all that, and and they got a say a $60,000 truck. Ford spent millions of dollars designing it, and then they go get a $300 tune and change it. Like, same way, the guys at Ogden, they hire Ogden Powder. They hire good engineers, good people to figure all this stuff out. The last thing I want to do is some redneck from Louisiana go in there with a jug and think that I can perfect what they've been working on. It's like, I'm sure that the product they have is better than what I could come up with. And you see people too, I don't know if you've seen them, people are dumping powder on cookie sheets and then putting it in an oven to dehydrate it and say that it's helping with stability. And you hear people doing this, and I was like, man, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I'm not going to figure it out. What I got's working, and I'm not going to put powder in an oven. It just to learn or dehydrator. Stay away.
Yeah. I mean, just from the combustible aspect of it, if it just happened to combust from the heat, I mean, you're asking for literally an explosion in your kitchen. And we're not even talking the chemical aspect that's in it too. It's like Cerakoting and using your kitchen oven to dry out your Cerakotes. It's just asking for problems.
Yeah,
Um, so,
completely agree.
but I mean, so I kind of want to get into a little bit on your King of 2 Mile. So I've heard the story from other people, but I've never heard the story from the horse's mouth the first year when you competed at King of 2 Mile and won. So I kind of want to hear it. Like, I think it'll be beneficial for everybody to hear, like your experience with it, how you got there, and what what transpired when you were there playing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so just like I told you earlier, there's a lot of overlap in precision rifle. So whether you're F class, PRS, NRL hunter, ELR, whatever, there are some subtle differences that is unique to that sport. But for the most part, we want an accurate rifle, good data, good ammunition, and just a basic understanding of ballistics. Like right, like you can apply that to most any of the precision rifles shooting sports. So I'd shot a lot of other stuff, so I wouldn't say I was a newbie to rifles, but I'd never shot ELR before, and so my boss, when I went to work for Manor Stocks, Mr. Tom, he was really involved in King of 2 Mile or any ELR stuff. He had come from 50 cal bench rest. He had done King of 2 Mile the years prior. He was a big supporter of it, so it was just a mainstay in the company. He asked me, "You want to go do it?" And I was like, "Heck yeah! I'm not gonna pass that up. Uh, that sounds too much fun. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna figure it out." Well, I showed up. Same thing I told the viewers earlier. Like, keep it simple. I had a bipod. I had a game changer in the back. I didn't have all these adjustable rests, adjustable bipods, all this stuff. It was pretty simple. I brought what I knew, which was like a Bushnell scope, and I used the shooter app that I knew. And I just did the same thing. Okay, the box says the BC is this, or the bullet manufacturer says the BC is this. I put a magneto speed on the end. The speed says it's this. I have a Kestrel. This is like ballistic Kestrels. It just read the environmentals. It says the temperature, the pressure, and the humidity is this. I input that. This is a $10 phone app. It's not like I have some secret weapon that other people have. I zeroed the gun. I put in the environmentals that it asked for, and then I did the yardages that they said. So it's pretty basic. I didn't shoot the gun much at all. We come from Missouri, and we can shoot out to 600 or 700 yards on the range where we were at, and that was it. And that's really nothing for that gun. And it's harder to shoot that than it is 1,500 yards because we got about 100 minutes of elevation in our scope, meaning we're going to hit really high at 100, and I have to hold under at 600, 800, 1,000. My zero is probably in the 12 or 1,300 yard range, but we just knew how high it hit at 100. And that's another thing you put in the ballistic app. It says zero range, 100 yards. How high does it hit at 100? And I would tell it whatever it was, 32 inches, 32 and a half, whatever it be. So went there with just that data and nothing else. And then it came into, I had an advantage shooting PRS and stuff than some of these other guys did. So King of 2 Mile crowd at that time was mostly, say, like F-class shooters and things like that. So they're very precision-based and shooting one target and just drilling that target really well. I felt like King of 2 Mile was more like my game, meaning like there's multiple targets. I have to transition. I have to read the plates. I have all these. I have to look at what the targetry is like. Meaning, say on target one, there's it's a big target on a berm. If you miss low, left or right, you're going to see it clear as day. If you miss high, you're not going to see anything. So I would watch or hear about other guys that would be sending them over the target and they're chasing wind. Well, obviously you're sailing the target. So like, look at that first, like, okay, if I miss where, and if I miss these ways, low, left or right, I'll see it and I'll get a correction. I'll move. So if I'm going to favor a way to miss, if that makes sense, I want to miss low, left or right. I don't want to miss high because all I know is I need to come down. target 2 was if you missed high left. No, yeah, I think it was high left. You would see something, but if you missed low right, the way it was hanging off the mountain, you'd see nothing. So I'm taking that into into account, and then I'm taking into account that people didn't watch like the plate swing. It didn't seem like as much. So when I'm getting data from one target, if I see it swinging right, I know I'm hitting right. I'm going to center it up, and then I would write out win brackets on my targets that it seemed like at the time. I don't know about every shooter, but for the most part, the other ones weren't doing so. If I think the wind is a 6 mile per hour, but it's really a 10, then I'm going to go to the next target with a 10 mile an hour value, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
I'm writing out my wind calls for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. If I think it's a 6 or an 8, I want to be way out. I want to have data way outside of that.
Yeah.
And I did that. Luckily, I didn't need any of that. And we cleaned pretty much the entire course, and I missed one shot. And it was my fault thinking that it was a further yardage. I need more wind. I really didn't, because it was only like 200 yards further. But took a rifle that we borrowed, just did basic load workup. And the load workup is just like I said earlier. We weren't maybe looking for the best accuracy or the most speed. We were just looking for something that was consistent, that would work. Gets the job done. Let's go forward. And we just went to the match just like that, and just took it one target at a time, one shot at a time, and the chips will fall where they will. So come out and hit everything, and we won the qualifying run by a long shot. I'm talking about, I was well in the lead. I could have almost. We still talk about today. I could have not even showed up for the final run and probably still won the match. We won by a landslide. We went into the finale, just did the same thing. Like, that worked here, we're going to do it there too, and got another huge lead on it. So, a simple, basic approach won the match, and I kind of kept that in. So we got lucky. We had a really good run, but we didn't overthink it. My boss is Tom Manners, is really sharp on knowing the ins and outs of those big guns. So he's like, this will get it done. You just got to do your end of the deal. And man, we hit all the way out to 2 miles and had a lot of first round impacts and a lot of big points that served us well in the match. So it was just a barred gun. I got it in the safe right now. That was the last time we shot that gun in a match. It was, we don't know the history of that gun. It had sat at the shop for God knows how long, just in a corner, and we dusted off like, I think it'll work. So let's run it. And since it's my first match, I don't know what else. I don't have another option. So good or bad, it's my first match to shoot ELR. If I come in last, that's to be expected. So there's no nothing that can go wrong other than it blowing up and something catastrophic happening. It's just show up and have fun, same way we did, and we had enough fun that we won it. So it's looking back, it was a blast, and we shoot it every year. Just, we don't practice for it. We don't really prepare a lot. We just show up and do that every single year. And I think I'd shot the gun 1 or 2 times before we went out to the match. So it's not like we put a lot into it,
See, and that's awesome. Like, I love hearing that story, and and the biggest takeaway from that is you had the fun doing it, and that's what it was all about. Like,
I'll tell you some other funny stories about it. We had to go to this range where I'm telling you about, where we can shoot out to like 600 or 700 yards. This is a barn that was built during the Civil War.
mm-hmm.
It has no electric. I mean, this is like an open-ended barn. We took a screw gun and drilled the press to one of the walls in there. There's no electricity. We parked a Ford truck around the corner and ran an extension cord off the outlet out of the truck and put a charge master up in the on the table in the barn, and put a little wall around it out of cardboard boxes to try to keep the wind off of it. That's how we loaded all the ammo for that. So we didn't have a crazy expensive scale. We didn't do crazy load workup. all these things that people say you have to do to go
Yeah.
shoot these matches. I swear a lot of the people that shoot a lot of the ELR, they want you to be intimidated by it so you won't show up, or you feel like you don't have a chance. We proved it right then and there. Like, man, just take what you got, do the best you can do with it. Don't get wrapped up around the axle, and go do it. You'll probably do better than you think you can, and you don't have to chase every little bit, because like I said, when you're chasing everything and you got a problem, you don't know what you're working with. Take it one thing at a time, and just see where your shortcomings will expose themselves. So don't get too worked up around it. I see
So
a question
Nate's got a
here.
great question here. When you reach the transonic phase of your cartridge, how much does it affect with the flight at those distances?
That's going to be a bullet specific issue there. Some bullets will transition through transonic with no problem. Some of them will have problems. We definitely are subsonic at the longer stuff, but Dan Schmidtko, who owns Cutting Edge Bullets, this is how simple this is, right? So this is ingrained in my brain. Qualifying run, he told me 491 is your BC, 491. I was like, cool. And we had a great run for it. And we got ready to go in the following run for the finale. And he said, hey, when you start getting a transonic, your BC will drop. I would move that BC from, say, 491, go 471. Well, I could be smarter, like talking about mixing powders. This guy makes the bullets. He invented it. He makes, like, why would I think that I know more than this guy? So I go with my shooter out, 491, go to 471, and go. And it lined up perfectly. So when people that are smarter than you give you advice, G7. So when people are smarter than you tell you stuff, listen to it. And when it comes to transonic, if your bullet doesn't do good, what are you going to do? Not shoot at it? So give it all you got. So
Twisted Rooster, I don't know. He runs in the Canadian King of 2 Mile circuit and ELR. They run the Ballistically Speaking podcast. Have you listened to that ever?
I've listened to very few podcasts, to be honest, but he's right in his comment that is that transition range that'll get you, because that's where things go haywire. Either your bullet may not fly true, and then how are you going to outshoot that? Or your BC starts changing a lot and your solutions are way off. So he's exactly right. If you can overpower and bring a round that will go supersonic the entire way, you're probably, granted that it shoots good and all that, you're probably in a better position, all things being equal, than if you have to fight that, because we don't want to fight anything we don't have to, right? So if you can get around that doesn't even affect that, like you're not even dancing in that realm, then you'll probably be better off. So he's definitely right on that part.
Yeah. So a lot of the guys from my channel, we go over there and we aggravate Rooster and them over there about how they say coyotes. They call them coyotes. And
Coyotes.
yeah. So how do you say it down in Louisiana?
Coyotes.
Okay.
I mean, either coyote or coyotes.
Oh. So John wants to know, what was the caliber that you were shooting that year?
18 and 19. I can't. Sorry. I think in 19 we changed cartridge, but in 2018 it was a 416 Barrett, just a straight Barrett. The next year we went to our round, the 416 MCS, and all things being equal, they're right on par with each other. So you can pretty much say a 416 Barrett for the whole time. That's been our round of choice.
So Nate's got another great question here. What makes a round better at fighting the transonic transition, just overall BC? And Nate, you don't have to apologize for asking questions. That is literally what this podcast is about, is to ask questions, interact with people, and hopefully get answers.
There's no
I'm
secrets
learning.
with me. I do not have all the answers, but I also don't have any secrets either. So I'll share anything I got with you. It's going to be bullets. BC really has nothing to do with it. Anytime you stay away from the extremes of almost anything, you're usually going to be better off. So sometimes these crazy high BC bullets may not do good just because they're pushing the envelope and they're on the edge. But I've seen high BC bullets that transition good. I've seen low BC bullets that transition good. It's really going to be the magic that the bullet does. The bullet doesn't know what it's fired out of. All it knows is I'm in this air environment and I was launched at this speed. Like that's so cartridge doesn't have a lot to do with it. But some bullets are just known to transition better than others. Like getting into the 308, you would always hear the and stability factor. That is one thing that you can do that you want to make sure you're stable. If you're on the edge, you're not gonna to do good. But like you always heard with the 308, the 168 Match King, it was go to the 800-yard line and it'd fall off. It was not known to transition good at all, where the 175 was. And it wasn't really the BC, it was just how that bullet was designed. So you no matter what, you want to make sure you're stable. And I saw it yesterday on a post. Someone can't get bullets, so they got a 308 and they bought a box of 230 Hornady A tips, and they're having trouble with it. Well, that's a great bullet, and the BC is great and all that, but their gun isn't stabilizing it, so it may shoot good at some yardages, but when downrange, he just couldn't get it to shoot good. And it was not the bullet's fault. It's he didn't throw enough twist on it to stabilize it the way that they recommended. So you're gonna, like I said, you're getting to those ends of those extremes that is gonna give you problems. So you kind of want to stay sometimes in the middle, just to make sure you're working properly. And I see this guy's shooting the light class next year. I think there's a big future in light class. I think that's really where my heart is going to go, because it's more practical. It opens the door up to more people. You're toting a 20-pound gun, 25-pound gun rather than a 40. It's just, I think, much more enjoyable. You don't have to have the crazy stuff. Like when I want to load my 416 Barrett, you got to like I got to have a certain press, certain dies. It gets really expensive, and you just open yourself up to more issues going on that big stuff, where the smaller light gun stuff, you can use normal presses, normal bullets, normal powders. And I think it's going to be more fun, and you can go shoot more places. There's only a few places where you can shoot 2 miles, but even though 1 mile is a long ways, it opens the door up to a lot more places. So I think light gun is gonna give you a lot more fun. My dog's coming to say hello. I got
Oh, is that the same dog from your YouTube channel that's always up there with you?
Yeah, this is the one. Last time I had to cancel on you because she got ran over. She got hit, and she's doing really good. She's super sore, but yeah, she's a deaf cur dog. And I always heard if you get one of these dogs with a solid white ear, and you can see it right there, they'll be deaf. And she's as deaf as they come, but I taught her sign language, and she does good. But she don't know why I'm talking to this box right now. She thinks I'm talking to her.
Oh. So John's got a question about center of gravity. Well, more of a statement. But I'm going to phrase it into a question, I guess. Does the center of the gravity of a bullet being further ahead help it stabilize more, or more of a centralized?
That's going to be another thing too. And if you're familiar with the Hornady A-tip, that's one reason why they went with that aluminum tip, is they can get a little bit more weight out forward, and they played with the center of gravity. There's two things that, and I'm not a ballistician, so if somebody's listening to this and I get it wrong, don't flame me too bad. But there's center of gravity and there's center of pressure. The center of gravity is if you set that bullet on a razor blade, where would it balance, right? And that's fairly easy to figure out. But there's center of pressure, that when the bullet's flying through the air, where the pressure is at, and tweaking those two things in the relationship with each other is very important on everything we've talked about: accuracy, BC, temperament of the bullet, and all this stuff. And playing with the center of gravity versus center of pressure is one of the things where, like, the Hornady guys with the ATIP really got some more performance out of that bullet by tweaking those things. So yes, it does matter. I would be out of my place to tell you where it needs to be or not need to be, but when they designed the ATIP, it made things better in a lot of ways, and that's one reason they did that aluminum tip, is they could play with, a mold makes the same thing over and over and over, right? You can't twist it, but when you machine something, you can play with weights, you can play with length and things like that. So they designed a bullet, and then they started playing with tips, machining long tips, short tips, heavy tips, whatever it may be, and tweaking that until they got something that worked really well. So I saw the comment about pushing versus pulling with the rope. Yes, it's the same thing. And you see it in archery a lot too with, broadheads. Like, you can take the same arrow and change out tips or broadheads with more weight on there and really change how that arrow flies. I'm not an archer, but that's how they explained it to me. So yes, that does matter, but I rely on people a lot smarter than myself to figure out what is best, and I just take it and run it.
Yeah. So I've got one question that I want to bring up. And so I was on a podcast last night with Safety Dog, and we got on the topic of youth in the firearm sports. And so I was literally at an event on Saturday that was solely focusing around how do we get LGBT members involved into the shooting sports. And one of the biggest things that I said is shooting sports are for everybody. It doesn't matter sex, creed, religion, none of that. None of that matters. We're there to have fun and everything like that. And so I view the youth in the shooting sports, they're the ones, when I'm old and decrepit and can't do it anymore, they're the ones carrying on the legacy that all of us have built and established. And I know you do a lot of work with the youth, like I do with youth hunts and getting youth involved with 22s and stuff like that. What's your opinion on that, if I can ask?
Well, first off, it needs to be, for the youth, it needs to be safe, right? That's the one thing that they may come with no knowledge of, is being safe. One reason I like precision rifle with our kids and people like that is it seems to be the safest sport to do it in, because all they pretty much have to do right off the bat is don't walk in front of the gun. Pistols, it's easier to sweep people like that, but a precision rifle is harder to do those things with. So if I put it on a bipod or a tripod, then we can just start off by like, hey, stay back, and we're there and we can progress. So keeping it safe is the first thing, but then making it fun. Don't make it so challenging that it discourages people. And that's with whether they're a kid or not, to grow the sport, I think you need to keep it to where it's not a money race, even though it'll always be a money race to some degree at the top. But to get involved in the sport, don't make it super hard to get into. Don't make it so challenging. That's what I had a problem with ELRs. A lot of people make it out to be like you need to know all this stuff and have a degree in science and physics and all this stuff. Like, man, keep it simple and let people get into it, and then make it simple enough they can get into it, but challenging enough to where there's a progression where it drives them to want to get better. And, you can start chasing those little points at the top. But if it's just too hard where it just curb stomps you the second you get involved, like who wants to do that? And you're probably not going to stay in it. So I don't know a lot about competitive shotgun or pistol or anything like that. I've shot one 3-gun match, but it had to be easy enough. I want to go do more because I've shot one of almost everything. that I had enough fun. I knew I wouldn't win, but I didn't get zeros on everything either, right? So like the
Yeah.
top guys can chase these little things, but the guys and girls getting into it new can still have enough of a chance at hitting stuff that they want to come back. I think that's
Yeah.
important.
And I agree. Like that's the one thing that like I really respect about Jerry and Lena is they have pushed and pushed and pushed to get the youth involved, get them involved, get them involved. And they have literally paved the way for people like me that are trying to get youth involved and working with local high school teams and working with local youth hunts. Like those two right there are literally in the three gun world and the shotgun world, they have literally paved the path for and guys and girls and whatever they are. That doesn't matter. Like they
Yeah,
have
and
really
they're
paved
good friends of
that
mine
path.
too,
And
and they're great friends of mine too, and I love talking with them on stuff. Even though we come from two ends of the spectrum on firearms, I've learned a lot from them. And they're very encouraging, and think a lot of both of those people,
yeah,
uh,
same.
and they've done a lot. I tell you the other thing too with youth, like you said, they're the future of it. So you got to get them into it, and then I want my kids uh, to want to do that when it comes time, but I don't know if they will or not. So I don't want to push it on them too. Kids don't seem like they don't want to get pushed. So you got to give them something fun that they want to do, and then they'll jump into it. But if it's too hard and you got to coach them too hard and stay on them too much, I think they'll naturally back out. So
Yeah,
give them something that they'll want to do. Like my stepson, he's 9 years old. I can't push him the same way I might could push you because he won't
yeah,
understand things. So I got him some dinosaur targets and a rimfire, and man, he
yeah.
eats that up, and he loves it. And
See,
I'll just let him back up and make sure he's safe, but just let him do it on his own. And before I know it, he's like, "Well, how do I shoot that one that's further?" Like let
yeah,
them want to come out. So
yeah,
and
yeah,
what I
and
love about Mr. Jerry is I've taken him hunting a time or two, and like he comes to my game with some asking questions. Like I'm telling Jerry Mitchellek how to do things and shoot long range, and he knows what he's doing. Don't get me wrong, but like he comes at you wanting to learn to make sure he's doing it right. So when I go to his world, like obviously he's the master. I ask
yeah,
questions. I put myself at the bottom, and I intentionally do that. And he, and he'll gladly answer anything. But if I come to him acting like I know everything, that I'm fixing to get shown up really quick. So,
yeah. Well,
uh,
and that's the thing. Like, as good as he is so nice when people ask him questions, and I love it. Like,
yeah,
I
great
can
guy.
I can tell you, like I've asked him probably some of the stupidest questions in the world at matches, and he's just like he'll answer it like he doesn't care.
Nuh-uh. And the only
Like,
stupid questions are the ones you don't ask. So,
yeah, I mean, it and just watching him and his wife and his daughter all run through their course of fire just so smooth. Like it's awesome to watch. Like it
it's
really
mind
is.
blowing.
It is. And I really took one thing from him, regardless of how fast he is. He told me smooth is fast and fast is smooth. And I have instilled that into my brain, and like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. Like when he
It
broke it down to me that way,
comes. Yeah.
it was just like, oh shit, he is onto something. You know what I mean? Like doesn't
He
matter
is.
that he's the best in the world at it. He's got a very valid point.
And he thinks on such he's got a lot of hardware up here, but he runs on a very basic program. I mean,
Yeah,
he can process things way further than I'll ever dream of doing so, but he breaks things down to such a simple level. And he's one of the reasons I've learned and really harp on keeping things simple. Is that he doesn't overthink it. That the more I throw at you, the more you have to process, the slower you're probably going to be having to process. But if I just give you something very simple and go at, you'll probably take it better and you'll probably do better. So, you know, he really has shown me that when I go shoot with him. So there may be people that are more sponsored and people throwing more stuff at him than, I don't really know who that would be, but obviously we all know he's at the top of the game. When you go shoot with him at his house and he's sighting in his rifle, he's got this orange, I don't know if it's a Caldwell or a Hoppies or what, rifle rest. All the paints wore off. You could tell it was orange 30 years ago. Like, he's still using that in the same bag for years. And it's something you could buy at Walmart. It's nothing fancy. So you would go there and think that this guy's got all the state-of-the-art gear, and he does in a lot of ways. But what he still uses, when I've been around a lot of three gunners, I know very little, and I see all their guns, and it's crazy. And then I said, "Show me, Mr. Jerry, what you're shooting." And he busted out. And it's pretty much like store-bought stuff. Like, he's not shooting anything crazy, but it's because it's up here, you know, and he's not chasing all that crazy gear like a lot of people do, and he just excels at it because of it, I think.
You know, literally the first three-gun match I showed up to, that he was there, he looked at my shotgun, he looked at my Anderson AR-15, and I was carrying a Canic pistol, and he was like, "You're gonna go have fun, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have fun." He's like, That's all that matters. Go have fun."
Yeah.
And my shotgun, even to this day, like, now I've got a Benelli, but my very first shotgun was a $150 shotgun from Walmart. Like, pump action shotgun, like, what, um, like, there's nothing special about it. And it was, I don't know, like, it was just, there's nothing special about it. But that I keep it just like you with your first rifle. That reminds me of where I came from.
No doubt about it. And so you got a shotgun like that, and you know that expensive, fancy, flashy stuff exists. You got two options. You can say, "I'm embarrassed and I'm not going to show up because I don't want to be seen with this cheap shotgun and maybe look like a fool," or I can throw myself out there, go and see where I land, see what I learn, and go from there. Well, where would you be right now if you took option one? You know, you'd still be with that same shotgun doing the same thing, and you wouldn't progress. Or you could go put yourself out there and learn from it. So I tell guys, man, you know, just jump in and just see where you go. Don't let anything hold you back. When you finish a match, there's two places you look at on the roster. Who won it, and where did I finish? Like, and everybody at that match is looking at that. So no one cares that you're in last place. Like, no one's really out there laughing at you. Like, if you get last place, you're probably thinking like, "Oh man, I can't show up again because everyone's laughing at me or whatever." Like, no one really cares. And I know that sounds harsh, but nobody cares where you finish. They care unless you beat them. They care where they finish and where to go. So my very first match I showed up to, and I wasn't prepared to shoot it, but I showed up to a range and there was a match that day, and I couldn't shoot on the range like I wanted to. And I had this same Winchester gun that I told you earlier in the story. But I said, if I want to shoot today, I got to shoot the match. I signed up. I hit one target. The entire match, I hit one target. And I'm thinking, like, everyone's laughing at me. No one really cared. No one even knew who I was, anything like that. But it lit a fire under me. It's like, I'm not going to do that again, you know. But if I wouldn't have showed up and just got my ass handed to me, I wouldn't be shooting today. So you got to throw yourself out there. You got to just put it on the line and not really care, because you think they care, but no one does. And you start caring about you, and you'll start progressing, you know. So not showing up is not the answer, is what I tell people.
Exactly. And that's my biggest thing with it is, so I have one shotgun divisions with a $127 shotgun, $150 shotgun. I've won divisions with my Benellis and things of that nature. But you know what? I have more fun with the $150 pump action shotgun. I have
Yeah.
way more fun with it. And
It,
even now, like in the world of three gun, I still run an Anderson AR-15. I get so much shit given to me.
I'm
I
guessing
get
that's a
told,
cheaper brand. I don't know.
no, Anderson, it's not a bad brand, but Anderson, so when you look in the AR worlds, so top of the lines are like Anderson, or not Anderson, sorry, like Daniel Defense, Wilson Combat, FN, um, F1 Firearms, like your boutique builders. And then when you go down to, then it goes down in levels. So Anderson is put in like the same level in some regards as like what Smith and Wesson are, or
Gotcha.
um,
Like a
Ruger.
Savage for
Yeah,
a bolt gun.
yeah. I get so much shit given to me for running those, and you know what? They run, and I have the time of my life. And I love it when I beat guys that have F1 firearms that were like, I bought accuracy and I beat them. I love it because it's
Yep.
like you might have bought accuracy, but you didn't buy skill.
That's
And
right. And I shoot Bushnell optics, and people think like, oh, you can't compete with the Bushnell. Uh,
yeah,
I mean, that's one reason I love it. First off, I've always stayed loyal to them for years, and I started learning you need to buy yourself up to a certain level of quality, and once you get to that point, man, it's a lot of money for little gains. So if I would have thought I had to only have a Schmidt and Bender or a Premier or a Tangent Theta or whatever, I would have never got in it. So I got good enough, like I said earlier, good enough gear that'll get the job done and start going. And then when I started seeing where my shortcomings were, it wasn't that I couldn't see a target. I never been to a stage where I couldn't see a target because I got a Bushnell.
yeah.
It's like I'd rather
It,
put that money into ammo that I can train with or something like that. But yeah, don't chase the gear. Just you can do a lot better than you probably think you can with gear that's good enough. There's a saying that I learned a long time ago: you don't have to be good; you just got to be good enough. So
yeah.
I think the same way for
And
the gear.
and that's the thing. So I run unlimited division in three gun with a red dot because back when I got into it, red dot was unlimited. And I still run it to this day because I know it. I know how high I need to hold over at 600 yards or 500 yards. What I know the hold that I need to do. So why am I going to change something I don't need to change?
Yeah,
And that was the one thing that I really took away from Jerry when he said, "Don't change anything if you don't need to." And you've
yeah,
said the same thing. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
yeah.
And
I
I
run a
love it.
very simple gear. If you went and opened up my bag for PRS, you'd be like, "Where's everything at?" Because I keep super simple gear, and it's just like I told you earlier. If I throw a lot of stuff at you, you got to process it. You got decisions to make. It's going to slow you down. You got more hurdles you got to jump and it's a potential area for you to trip or fall over that hurdle, right? But if I throw you something simple, you'll naturally do better. So I run one bag, one data card, and very simple stuff. So the chances of me slipping up is a lot slimmer than the same me that has 20 bags and I got to decide how to use it and it keeps progressing to the next thing. So say it starts by I'm walk up to a stage. If I have 4 bags, I have to decide which bag is the best use for that stage. If I have one bag, the thing is, how do I make it work? So
Yeah. Well, and
simple
that's the
works.
thing. Like, um, I I never realized how much I used an Armageddon Gear Game Changers medium.
Yep.
Even in
That's
three
all I
gun,
carry. Oh, really?
I never realized how much I used it until one time I didn't have it. And I was like, son of a bitch, where is it
uh,
at? And nobody else has it. And I'm like, what do I do? So now I have 3 different Armageddon Gear mediums with the sticky wax. I keep one in my truck, one in my toolbox, and one in my range bag. That way, no questions asked. I always have one.
I do
And
carry an extra one. It stays in the truck. I don't carry it with me. In PRS, if I broke 5 of them in a match, there'd still be people with more of them because that's
yeah,
just such a mainstay. But in 3-gun, I don't know. It may not be, but that's something that we think we're good, but a lot of times we rely on that bag. That's the other thing.
yeah,
Like if you told me like, man, I'll give you a $10,000 gun and a $10,000 optic, or no bag, or a Ruger American and decent, but a game changer bag. Like sometimes it's these more inexpensive things that go way further. I would rather have that bag than a high dollar scope and a crazy high dollar gun, because that
yeah.
bag is half of the skill that we have in PRS
Well,
is generated from that bag. So
well,
that simple
the
stuff goes always.
one thing I've heard time and time again from everybody, yourself, um, I just had a mind blank. Um, Eric Cortina, um, Kenny, Ryan, Jason, um, Jonathan, everybody. The one thing that I've heard from everybody, no matter what, when it comes to bags, is be the man that they fear with one bag.
Yeah.
Learn to use one bag very, very good. And it's like, damn. And I never realized it until I got into it.
I only
Like,
carry one bag. That's
yeah,
all that's in my pack. If you open my pack, I got a box of ammo, a Schmedium game changer, a Kestrel, a data card, and maybe a few little odds and ends that like whether it's lens cleaning cloth or little stuff like that. But that's it, and that's all I have to process.
yeah,
When it comes and every prop, I'll find out a way to make that that work. And like I said, I've shot over 100 PRS matches, and I've never not been able to shoot because I didn't have something else. Like there is a way around it, and you'll figure it out. And it's a problem solving game. So if this is all I have to work with, solve the problem. Here's the basic stuff, and you're good. It's like I'd rather have single digit numbers that I have to add together in relation than having all these long digit numbers that have to multiply. Like when you get all these options now, it's a lot more to compute and think about. But if I have just simple stuff, I probably can do it, because we all know in practice we can probably do a little bit more. But when that beep starts, your brain goes to mush, and you're probably going to resort to your basics. So, if I start out with basics, then I can work with that easier. But, it, like Mike Tyson says, we all have a plan till you get punched in the face.
yeah,
That shot timer is the punch in the face. So, don't overthink it. Don't overdo it. Don't have more gear than you can work with, and have a simple plan, and you'll probably do better.
yeah. I mean, exactly. Like, it's what it's all about. It's just having, and the biggest thing about it all is having fun.
Yes.
That's it.
You got to have fun, because that's the consistency that if I'm having fun on the stage and I bomb this next one and it takes the fun out of it, well, I'm having an emotional roller coaster that, and I'm thinking about other stuff that doesn't matter. Once you smell that powder and it's burnt and that bullet's gone, you don't harp on it. Take the data that you learn from that and move on. Don't try to take any emotions. Try to keep the fun up. And then, the next stage, like, is how can I have fun? How can I, and I don't think of how to bomb a stage. I try to, how do I get the points out of it? I try to think of everything positive. I don't worry about how many points I'm down. How many points can I get on the next stage? I always try to think of it on the positive mindset, and you'll do better. Try to pump your squad mates up. They'll pump you up. Just try to be, if someone's giving you negative stuff, I mean, don't be rude to them, but try to just disconnect from that. If somebody's having a bad match, don't let it bring your match down, because sometimes bad shots turn into bad stages. Bad stages can turn into bad matches. Bad matches turn into bad seasons. Like, how far do you want to go down this road?
Exactly.
Where, don't let it get you. Man, matches cost a lot of money. I don't have the money that I can afford to let something ruin me. I have to have fun so I can get my money's worth out of it, and want to go on it, because it's easy to get down on yourself. Don't bring other people down. Try not to let other people bring you down, and just go have fun. You're there to. It's a shooting sport. It's a game. No one's shooting back at you. So just man,
and
learn and go.
And that's what I was talking about at the first match that you and I ever shot together. I think that's what you saw was me getting down on myself, watching me fight with my rifle, and you were just like, just go have fun. And that's when it all changed. And then I almost cleaned the last stage where it was a floating bridge or the floating tabletop. I almost cleaned it at that match. And like it was the best time I ever had was shooting off that. And
I don't know how many people here are real into the PRS game, but there's a man that I've shot with a long time. His name is John Sneed. He's from Alabama or Georgia, older gentleman, super reserved, but as polite and friendly and nice as you'll ever meet. And it's stuck in my head that I had a bad stage, and I turned around and I had a mag in my hand, and in my mind, I felt I was ready to throw it. I was ready to just throw a tantrum and everything. And he saw it in my eyes. He just looked at me and said, "Don't do it. You'll never recover from it." And that always hit me. It stuck with me, because I was like, you know what? I can name several people that when they're having a bad match. They project that. You can absorb it. And I don't like shooting around. I don't want to be around that guy. There's no good ever going to come from it. And once you do it the first time, it's easier to do it the second time. It's easier to do it the third time, So that he read that in my body language somehow, and it hit me as like, you know what? That does nobody any good. These people that I'm shooting with, they don't deserve, because I had a bad stage. You don't deserve that I cast that negativity on you. So, and when he said something about you'll never recover from it, and not meaning I couldn't show up and shoot another match or couldn't overcome it, but it'll always be in my head that I did that. So I've seen the matches have to be called cold because people got upset and they threw their mags down range. And like, you remember that with other people do it. Like, don't do that. You don't deserve for me to do that to you. So,
and
don't do it.
And that's the big thing that I think people need to realize is we're all here to have fun. And it's nothing more than another day at the range. And it's like Rooster says, there's tons of moving parts on a stage. You don't need the little bastard in your head fighting you too.
That's right. This is your biggest enemy, no matter if you're starting off or you're the top of the game. Someone told me a long time ago, learn to stay out of your own way. And I'd never understood it for the longest time. And then I started kind of understanding it, that like, just have fun. And you got to find out what keeps you out of your own way. And for me, it's having fun. I started noticing I would do better when I shot with new shooters that needed help, because all I need to do, and I'm not bragging or whatever, it's I can't compute too many things at once. So I have to find a way to keep it simple. But if I can get my data ready, load my mags, and just know where the targets are at, that's pretty much all I need. And then if I can focus with a new shooter, my brain's off of me and I can focus on them. And when it comes time to shoot, it comes down to putting my gun on the prop, holding it steady, dialing the right dope, and breaking a good shot. That's about all it comes down to. So you find out what works for you, that where you can only give enough effort to get the job done. If you throw too much effort at it, you're over trying. Learn that proper amount of engagement to you. And to me, I need someone to chit chat with at a match, or some music to listen to, or what have you. I don't want to be fully engaged because I'll overthink stuff and I'll bring myself down. I need just I don't want to say minimal, the adequate amount of thought process to do it. And if
Well,
there's, what's his name? If people might be familiar with Lanny Basham,
yeah.
with winning in mind and all that, the mental management stuff. I really like resorting back to his stuff because he'll teach you about that. Like, don't over try. When you're doing the best at no matter what it is, whether it's martial arts or tennis or golf, whatever, the best people seem to be, it looks effortless to them. So because they're not over trying, but you see the guys that are throwing everything that they got at it, and they're struggling, they're over trying, so, and when you're new, you almost have to. So I'm not talking to the new shooter, but, find an easy process that just lets you put it on cruise control, coast through, and you'll find yourself probably doing better when you can just back up and just take a simple approach. That's my thoughts.
Well, and there's also the aspect, like, one of the things that, like, makes me drive so much respect for you, like, so do you remember when, I don't remember what match you were at, but where you shot the 6.5 and you miscalculated your dope? And you're like, I knew the 6.5 shot flat, but it's not that damn flat.
Oh, that
When you
was
make a
at
mistake like that and you
Texas. Yeah.
and you recover from it and you're just like, it is what it is. I made a mistake, and then you laugh about it versus beating yourself up. Like, I I admire that from one person to another instead of beating yourself up and getting mad or calling for a reshoot or whatever. Like, that speaks volumes right there.
You got two options. You can laugh at it and move on, or you can take that in and let it bring you down. Now, I learned from that. I need to beat myself up just enough that I learn from it. Because if it doesn't hurt you, you probably won't learn from it. So I want to say, like, hey, that was bad, but that was totally avoidable too. That's the thing, is that and that's an easy mistake. And what that was is, I got dyslexic on the numbers. Say it was 430 on the yards, I had 340 or something like that on the yardage. So it was a simple error, but since it hurt just enough, now I have practices into it that lets me avoid that. I have policy in my process now to try to avoid that. And for a lot of shooters, a lot of people shoot the same cartridges. So maybe it's me looking at you like, hey, what's your dope? And you say 2.1. If mine's 4.8, I probably got a problem. But if I'm 2.3, I was like, okay, cool. It'll be good enough. So double check it. And I try to do that every time. I try to find a double check in my process that'll keep me from having that problem. But beating myself up, that's not gonna really help me too much. If I keep telling everyone about it for the rest of the match, I'm dragging other people down. I'm bringing negativity. I'm probably reinforcing in my mind that I'll do it again. But try to find a way to prevent it in the future. You learn that you just got some very valuable stuff when that happens to you. You just got something you can learn from. So either you can beat yourself up and solve nothing, or you can learn from it, find a way to not let it happen. And guess what? Now you're more dangerous. So
exactly.
That's how in my mind, how you need to look at it.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep you all night, Robert. I have appreciated all your time. So we got 5 minutes left. What's a solid piece of dad advice, brother advice, uncle advice, husband advice, whatever kind of advice it is, it doesn't matter. Coworker advice, doesn't matter.
For shooting or
anything, it doesn't matter. Just one solid piece of advice to close this out with.
Shooting has helped me with a lot of stuff in life, and I try to think about it because it's performance based, but it's also can relate to other things too. But it's keep it simple. I try to tell myself, how well did I do when I overthought everything and just didn't take a step back and try to find a simple approach. So I've used that in life a lot. Just try to look at the people that are succeeding What are they doing? Learn from it, and then take a step back, try to disconnect emotion from it, and just say like, okay, here's what it seems like it takes to be successful in this game, and apply that, and don't be scared to jump in. I think you'll get so much further ahead if you put yourself out there and jump in and be willing to learn than saying I know it all. I'm going to tell everybody about it on the internet with no practice whatsoever. Just put yourself out there, allow yourself to fail to a degree, keep an open mind that you want to learn, and you will move forward. And if you don't, you at least learn something. So don't be afraid to learn. Keep it simple and get ready to learn.
Yeah. Hey, and that's a great piece of advice to close it out with. And I appreciate everybody watching. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks, y'all. That was